This report covers the analysis of the FIFA World Cup 2022 event, which is being held in Qatar, which is an Arab country. In order to present this analysis, 4 individual issues have been presented and analyzed with an overview of understanding the financial, ecological, ethical, and community issues which are associated with this event.
Now in this slide, I'd like to talk about financial sustainability to you. As we know, any business is considered to be financially sustainable when it's able to achieve the objectives of the business, and at the same time, it is able to cater for the cost of business and making profit as required. And then financial sustainability is an important element of the FIFA World Cup. And because this sport events supported by governments and international bodies, it is highly effective because of its regulatory organization. This sport events is also still suffering from corruption, by the way. So the implementation of anti-corruption laws are important for this sport events. While the definitions of financial sustainability have been described here, so I'd like to explain why and how this form of sustainability is very important to such events and businesses and transactions. For example, I found that there is a considerable doubt about the legitimacy of the current choice of Qatar as a destination. Corruption was alleged to be a major reason why Qatar won this event. However, later investigate described it as a fair process, despite the negative image it created for the brand. So now let's move on to next slide. In this slide, I will say some recommendations with this sport event. I've divided into 3 parts. Firstly, anti-corruption laws. Secondly, equality and fair attitude in working. Thirdly, sponsorships and financial mode. In terms of recommendations that can be made, I strongly believe that the federation should enforce respect, develop, and implement new laws so that any forms of business is protected by anti-corruption laws, and that no form of businesses or process should be maligned. Secondly, I would also like to suggest that it shouldn't apply to profitability and mode of business. It's also important to ensure equality and fairness in working to ensure that financial sustainability is included. I will also suggest that the sponsorship and financial mode should be used.
When it comes to ecological issues, I would like to draw your attention to the concept of ecological sustainability, which is very important for all profit and non-profit businesses in present time. It has been found that the concept of ecological sustainability is very important, based on not only the business models, but also the fact that companies' federations are being criticized for their lack of attention. One of the new projects which has been launched to demonstrate the sustainable waste management practices which are implemented at FIFA World Cup Qatar. This has been focused mainly on the construction sites. It has been identified that there are different waste management strategies which have been identified. There are different practices which has been described in the report where the environmental and ecological commitment of FIFA towards Qatar has been highlighted and underlined. An important aspect which is identified here is that minimization waste is majorly an inclusive element of the Qatar Sustainability Strategy 2022. This is not a part of the FIFA strategy. Therefore, this is an issue which can be identified. It is shown that efforts which are being made to minimize the waste are mainly a national and governmental initiative which is being undertaken. This clearly shows that this is the governmental initiative that will be undertaken. This is not what FIFA has planned, and what FIFA expected to do is follow the norms. But there's no inherent waste management program which is mentioned. Hence, the recommendation is strongly presented in addition to others which are presented as shown in the slide given above.
In terms of affordability, it has been reported by Magura Hall and Liu that FIFA has capped the agent's fees at 3% of the player's salary and 10% of the transfer fees. But it is this transfer fee which is surrounded by mystery and agents' costs which are very high. In this regard, it is found that capping the agent's fees is not a surprising aspect. It is also important to understand that FIFA 2022 comes with a financial gloom due to COVID-19. Many people have lost their business and suffered from losses. Despite the fact that Qatar is assumed to be a very rich country, it is in the midst of a financial breakdown. A total of $500.8 million spent on agents' fees in 2021, a 110% increase since 2040 is also reported. As per the Rooney Rule, it was found that the owner of the Premier League clubs are expected to ensure that black managers are provided a chance to success, and hence it was cited as an example that at least one black manager should be interviewed for the positions which are vacant. However, a clear evidence of bias can be found. While referring the recommendations, it is found that the international standards or ethical norms have to be applied. It is also very important that the Federation should relook at the ethical codes of conduct and make them more suitable for the present times and needs.
According to the competent website, the FIFA task force has demanded that a total of 30% of women participation should be called for. Also, in quote, the task force has asked that women's representation become a priority issue for the new reform. Committee charged with overhauling the crisis-hit organization. In a statement, the body proposed a target of 30% for women participation on boards and committees and in senior management roles. In terms of the issues discussed, the recommendations include increasing the community outreach and directly benefiting the community through various social and ecological projects which have to be undertaken. More focus on child development is required. Specific programs which can use football to impact the children are also required. In general, financial management has always been very important. First of all, financial sustainability ensures business expenses and profits, which is an important reason for the FIFA World Cup. However, the distribution of profits will cause corruption, so it is suggested to strictly implement anti-corruption laws to reduce corruption. Ecologically, Qatar's sustainable waste management strategy had been successful and should be continued. On the ethical side, FIFA needs to re-examine its code of ethics to adapt to the new environment. In terms of social impact, the increasing number of female football fans and more women working in FIFA is a positive trend, and it is also suggested to strengthen the influence of grassroots communities and children. In fact, in terms of financial, ethical, ecological, community management issues, any major sporting event in the world other than the World Cup has those problems. The successful bid for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, for example, was also suspected of bribing members of the International Olympic Committee, the pattern of waste disposal and energy consumption generated by people during major events has also been a chronic problem. Our team's research puts forward some suggestions on the problems arising from the 2022 World Cup, which will have some reference value for other similar competitions.